think he was sitting there, Arvinder is sitting there and trying, drawing his granddad. And with that, thank you very much for inviting me over.
Thank you very much, Indrajit. Wonderful tribute to your father. I'm going to throw the meeting open for questions and comments. And while you're thinking about those and drawing breath, can I just draw your attention to the book that Shiraz mentioned earlier, Unquiet, The Life and Times of Makhan Singh, which is on sale at the back of the room there, or if you prefer, a documentary film, also called Unquiet. Indrajit has taken a unilateral decision that the price of this book is no longer £50, it's £20, so you get a good deal, I think, if you want to buy a copy of this book tonight. And as I say, they're at the back of the room.
If I may just add that I really was nominated to bring the books here for sale, and I've got nothing to do with it. It's the booksellers who sent me the books, the parcel at home to bring it over. So just wanted to make that clear.
Any questions or comments or contributions, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just by way of interest, I'm working on a biography of somebody who worked with Makhan Singh and was assassinated in Nairobi, Pio Gama Pinto, but I'm struggling with it for one important reason. Makhan Singh was excellent in that he preserved all his material, excellent archives, but in the case of Pio Gama Pinto, virtually all the material that he had was destroyed by his own family, who were extremely worried about what would happen when he was assassinated in 1965. And the rest that was in the archives in Nairobi were destroyed by the Kenya government before independence. So if, in a sense, you're wondering why I'm taking so long, I hope that explains what my problem has been. But the question I have is really in two parts, I think. One is, where did Makhan Singh get the intellectual impetus to do what he wanted to do? Because he didn't go through the traditional kind of schooling that some of us have had the opportunity to. Where did it come from? He was clearly, in my view, and I've gone through that book, an organic intellectual. But where did it come from? I think only the family could perhaps provide an answer to this question. And the second one was, I think you answered, the point is, he did become a Kenyan citizen. Is that right?
Oh, definitely. Straight after.
Okay. All right, then the first question is, where did that intellectual impetus come from in your judgment, in your view?
I think in my view, whatever little I know, as I said, he spoke very little about himself. It was in his early years when he was in India, and he was always interested in going to the gurdwaras and listening to speeches. He picked that up there. This intellect, he got it from there, I think. And then when he came to Kenya, he went to a good school, and he was just a very hardworking, and I would say he was born an intellect. There are some people who are born intellectuals. I think he was one of them, because his father was not a highly literate person. So that's all I can say, really.
I think there are quite a few sources about intellectual upbringing. The first one is Sikh legacy, Sikhism, egalitarianism and all that. And his father, he was the father of East African Trade Union movement. He was the first person to form this. Was in Mombasa?
Yes, Sud Singh, yeah, he did.
Yeah. And the most important thing, you saw that group photo, he was only 20 years old at that time. My father was about 15 years elder to him. There was this, have you ever heard the other party that was formed in America, in San Francisco in 1913? So that was going on. Then the aftermath of that. And Kenya was one of the underground branches of the Ghadar party. And they had connections with Moscow, so to say. And about five comrades, they were sent to Moscow for training. Makhan Singh didn't go. I'm really interested to know why he didn't go, because he had a good opportunity to be there. Maybe, I don't know. So, Sikhism, Ghadar movement, and Moscow connection, and his introduction to Marxism. In that sense, I would say that's the only source of his intellectual.
And probably much of his own reading. He must have
He
read
did read
extensively.
a lot.
He was an avid reader, yes.
Yes, but if I,
Avid reader, absolutely. Anything that came, especially during his, well, he was already practicing whatever, but he must have been reading before also. But what I saw was, when he was under restriction order, he was forever reading. He could read the newspaper from page 1 to the end. He was very knowledgeable, just not about politics, but whatever else was in the newspapers
thank
and
you.
the books.
Thank you. And out of just pure curiosity only, he was keener for you to go to study in Canada rather than come to Britain.
Come to?
Most students at that time came to Britain to study.
Oh, it was just the opportunity was there for me to go to Canada.
Okay.
There wasn't any particular reason. He used to say that it's the authorities. I often used to remember him saying that it's the authorities that he is fighting, not the British people. That I remember him distinctly saying when he used to go to the shops, and he said, "It's not you guys, it's the authorities that I'm fighting, not you guys."
Thank you.
So that answers that. You.
And how did you know the Pinto papers were destroyed by the family?
Sorry.
How did you know
Well,
the Pinto papers were
I've
destroyed by the
I've
family?
been very close touch
Okay.
with
Is it true?
Theo's widow,
Don't know.
and I got a lot of material from her, of course. And we also know from people who tried to get information, and there was contact made with the archivist in Nairobi, who had been instructed to destroy the papers there. So really, that's been, for anyone writing a biography, to lose all the archive material has been absolutely disastrous. The only way I've been able to progress so far, with great difficulty, is by actually interviewing people who were in close touch with Pure, and the few bits of information that I've been able to get.
Did you want to say
I
something?
just wanted to sort of add that Makhan Singh translated Das Kavita into Punjabi when he was in India.
No, he
Yeah.
did not. No. Only
That is
maybe
mentioned
few
in-
extracts. No, not the whole.
That's not
No, it's not possible.
okay, but he did
Wouldn't have
something
been
about
possible. Even till today, it's not been translated in Punjabi full.
So Zaina mentions it here.
No.
Okay.
That's capitalized is a very difficult text anyway. And in 1940, when he was working in Jang-e-Azadi, and the three pioneer translators who translated Marxist classics into Punjabi, Makhan Singh was one of them, no doubt. But to have done
The
the
whole
whole
thing.
translation, it's not possible. No.
Richard?
I just wanted to kind of pick up on some of that, because I wanted to know, you talked about him as a trade union leader, and we've now talked about the links with communism, and I just wondered whether, I apologise for not knowing anything at all about Kenyan politics, but whether there was a communist party in Kenya during this time linked to the Soviet Union, and what Makhan Singh's links were with formal communism. I think you all talked about a pristine communism that he had. Was he linked kind of with the dirty communism of
That's
real
communism all the
politics
time,
during the
yeah.
Cold War?
Can I answer that? As far as I know, no communist party was existed during that period in Kenya. And there was a small group of Ghadar Kirti group, that's called, starting from the 1930s, a Ghadar party established in San Francisco. So that was an underground cell, so to say. He was a member of that, I'm sure about that, including my father.
Someone at the back.
Thank you. Indrajit Pramjit, I wonder if you can recall any conversations that your father had with you or any other members of your family or friends about his relationship with Jomo Kenyatta before your father's detention in 1950? Or indeed after he came out, on a personal level, not so much on a political level?
I can't comment on that. I really can't, because I was quite young, and he never spoke about whom he knew or what was. He didn't talk about his outside activities at home. All I know is, again, when he was in Lokitong, and at the same, a little while later, Jomo Kenyatta and the 6 others, 7, all of them, they were also transferred to Lokitong. And I think their houses were quite far apart from each other. And at that time, Kenyatta and his group didn't know that Makhan Singh my father was in Lokitong. And then they saw this Sikh with a white turban walking, and that's when they realized that he was there. And what I hear or understand, but don't quote me on that, my father's house, or whatever you want to call it, was put on a higher surface. And he stood there and showed the newspapers, just waving at them, that look, I'm here. And that's about all I know of their interaction. But what interaction had they before, I don't know. Afterwards, when father was released and he came home, Jomo Kenyatta came and visited him. In fact, we have got a picture of him at home. And that's about it. After that, there were, I don't know what communication.
And your dad
on.
started writing a biography of Kenyatta?
Yes,
It was broadcast on radio.
He broadcasted about 10 or 12 sessions, and they were actually going to be eventually converted into a booklet or something, but that never materialized.
Did whatever he wrote for that series that I've heard about, are those in the archives that you mentioned? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They should be, ideally.
Okay, thank you very much.
But a lot of stuff has apparently lost. What I understand is from Zarina, actually, the lady who's written this book, that she had a tough time finding literature or all this information, because most of the KOTUs, the trade union, their material had been thrown and chucked out. It just so happened that my father's, all his material that he collected was in one of our store at our house. And when my dad died, my mother and my brother took all that material. It was, I don't know how many boxfuls there were, maybe 100 of them, I would say. They were taken to the library. And that's how this got preserved. Actually, the history of trade union was going to be totally lost if father hadn't saved this and archived properly.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would be here if for no other reason than to pay homage to a man who stands very tall in our esteem as far as my peer group and myself of Kenyans are concerned. I think a lot of tribute has been paid to him. I cannot excel that. I think a great thing has happened as far as my generation of Kenyans are concerned, is that Zarina Patel undertook this monumental task of writing that book there. That's 500, 600 pages, which encapsulates not just Makhan Singh. Makhan Singh, of course, is the focal point, but the whole array of Asian endeavor at a very particularly difficult time in the history of Kenya. And for that reason, it's a great point of reference for people like me who can today stand tall and be proud of being Kenyans. Having said that, I, at the end of it, people like me who were so closely associated with the scene, who saw that era in Kenya, it's not surprising that we do wonder what was Makhan Singh. This is not something that is going to be articulated in eulogies or in praise. This is something which will have to be done at a distance by people who will sit back and want to look at Makhan Singh. I don't want to go into this issue because I'm speaking off the cuff, and I would not like to utter things which are self-contradictory or in any way hurtful of feelings. But the issue is some of the enigmas, which I call about Makhan Singh, have already been raised. The gentleman there, he raised an issue. Well, what propelled Makhan Singh? What was it that he decided to spend 5 years in detention in India, 11 and a half years in Kenya? And what made him so staunch, pristine communist? That is one aspect of it. Another enigma about Makhan Singh is post-independence status of Makhan Singh. I say what I say with a lot of caution and a lot of deference. But it was a period when Makhan Singh, when Kenya, the powers that be found it difficult to absorb Makhan Singh. And Makhan Singh found it very difficult to be absorbed into Kenya. That's a great enigma.